Hey guys, Disler Magic here, and very recently Wizards released the full details and actually a full card list of the Mystery Booster product, a product which they kind of strung everybody along with and generated hype through, mystery and speculation, which it turns out after the fact you really shouldn't do. If it's the most blah vanilla exactly as expected product ever, there is nothing special about this, and people have been comparing it, and rightfully so, to a product that isn't very well liked on eBay and other places, which is just mixed repacks. Now, repacks, you've got a nearly 0% chance of getting a card worth anything, and they're usually just a scam lying about your odds of getting, the one or two good cards that they show in the image. So this is one step above that, but yeah, this is just Eternal Masters. Oh, but with the original card frame and art in some cases and the set symbol. Wow. So I wouldn't have chosen to hype up something this hard and hold this long of a mystery and let people get their hopes up when it's just it's a reprint. Very vanilla, very dull, but is it worth buying and is there anything special about it? So that's what I want to cover in this video, and really just all the details that they release so that you can make a purchase decision. Oh, and this article is written by everybody's favorite, Blake. English is my 7th language and the other 6 are just facial expressions, Rasmussen. That literally makes no sense, but I'm leaving it in. And I gotta say though, very strong open to the article here. You wanna lead with the number one point why this is a thing and why people should buy it. So he very dramatically in Blake style says, Cube Draft, Chaos Draft, Wacky Draft, Cards I Think Are Awesome Draft. Yeah, you already said Cube Draft. That's not only redundant, but it's also redundant. Oh my gosh, I think I'm catching his level of humor. Anyway, we've all played weird and fun draft formats now and then. I wouldn't make that assumption, but yeah, I have. They can be wild, they can be serious, and often they are, above all, an absolute blast to play. 100% hit the nail on the head. So this is the closest to Chaos Draft, where depending upon how you do it, either every person gets a randomized booster, usually just what's on the wall at the store, or everybody gets the same 3, but they're randomized. And the sets have nothing to do with each other in all likelihood. In fact, usually that's a rule. Once you've rolled a d20 and landed on Kaladesh, then you can't have the other Kaladesh set. So, if you've never drafted M14 mixed with Theros mixed with Origins, you get such unexpected, fun, weird, quirky gameplay and interesting little combos and stuff. It's wonderful. It's very similar to the unexpected fun level of a very fun average commander deck, but it's in draft form. So I think for that, just that, if you were to ignore everything else, the design of it, the marketing, the announcement, the timing, the pricing, everything, ignore everything else. This is an amazing product with an amazing draft experience. I can tell you right off the bat, absolutely 100%. But is it worth buying and will it be a flop? That's another consideration. But he did lead with the strong point in the article. Very smart. In fact, he says drafts where anything can happen are some of the best play experiences Magic has to offer. Enter Mystery Booster. Mystery Booster is a booster pack released inspired by those Chaos, Cube, and off-format drafts. It is, in effect, a Chaos draft in a pack with some twists. Couldn't agree more. You might have seen some people celebrating this weird and wonderful draft format over the weekend at Magic Fest Richmond. If you squint and kind of crank your speakers up, because my gosh, was that live stream a disaster. I heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not, that the big Mystery Booster reveal thing was supposed to be respectable cameras beaming to probably a mixer, which beams to an actual streaming computer, and then that all broke or something. So they're just I don't know, what do we do? Crap, whip out a cell phone. That's a rumor. I don't know if it's true. I haven't confirmed it, but I'd like to think that that's true, that they wouldn't just say, screw it, let's take a 10-year-old cell phone and stream it at ass quality on data. Have that be ahead of time the actual plan. But yeah, now it's time for answers after that rough start, I guess we'll say. Also, I love how he says, did you miss the experience at Magic Fest Richmond? Well, we'll be streaming a Mystery Booster draft this Thursday at 2 p.m. on the official twitch.tv/magic account. I think by did you miss it, he means, wow, that was crap. Here's one in HD, finally, with, lapel mics. Tech problems are tech problems, but come on, have backup equipment that isn't that. So first and foremost, the set itself contains a ridiculous 1,694 reprints from all throughout the game's history, and they do have a full list in this article, so feel free to go check that out on Daily MTG, plus 121 copies of something new and surprising. You could fill an entire 8-person draft and not see the same card twice. See, that sounds like fun to me. Although it does depend on how many game-ruining shutdown cards there are, and remember, they had to put value in this to make people buy it. Then, this is news to me, he says to add to the mystery, there are 2 versions of the Mystery Booster. A convention edition that will be available at Magic Fests and conventions moving forward, including PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia December 6th through the 8th, and a WPN version that will be available starting March 13th, 2020. And by the way, the ones that were left over and unopened as like prize boosters or, I don't know, I heard people like joined an event and then dropped and just didn't open the packs, which I thought it was a draft. I don't think you can do that. But anyway, somehow these boosters made it out of Richmond and they're selling for like $45-50 online or something like that. So yeah, if the general release is March 13th, 2020, and they're going to have these at like tournaments all November and December, yeah, people are going to be hawking these pretty good or scalping them or whatever you want to say, which they shouldn't because I don't think that the value much exceeds whatever the, we'll say, MSRP ends up being. Close enough. So each convention exclusive mystery booster, though, will contain 15 cards, 14 from the gigantically awesome main set, and 1 from the something new and surprising group. We're calling these cards R&D Playtest Cards. Oh, so you don't, I think he's implying that you don't get those playtest cards from the off-the-shelf ones that'll be widely available in early 2020. That's kind of a shame. Boy, that would make them pretty expensive, actually. But they're not playable, so like, I mean, there's like silver bordered cards from 20 years ago that are worth like $4. Or, I should say gold bordered. Same thing, just different source and different intention. I don't think that my video covering what I thought was all of them hit 121, so I think I just scratched the surface on these. So keep that in mind, because like I said, I do believe I did previously state that I thought that was all of them. Well, that's what happens when they live stream at ass dial-up quality, a confusing event, and then say we'll follow it up days and days and days later on Monday. That's like NASA announcing on like a Wednesday, hey, we found life on Mars. We'll have more details to you. Like, is it walking around? Did it say hi? Or is it like algae or something? Like, is it single cell bacteria? Oh, we'll call you Monday. Yeah, come back for that press conference and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, aliens. I mean, everything about this release was handled pretty poorly, from the mystery to the hype to the design of it. But I still think like it'll be a cool product. It's just the only thing I care about, because this was like my way I processed Magic products for the last 6-7 years. Is it worth opening? Will I get my money back? And unless you guys really like chaos drafting, I have a feeling that you're thinking the same thing. And the EV calculation is going to have such a variance and be so unbelievably impossible to calculate, I don't think I'll ever have an answer for you. It's like 1,600 cards, all of the values of which will change, but we don't really know because we don't know the print quantity, and we like really don't know the print quality and the impact because it'll be so much lower than a Masters set, because those are usually like 250 unique cards. So in theory, if this is the same volume as that, which I think it'll be lower, then this will have almost no impact, which means we can use the old prices. But usually when something like that happens with like From the Vault or something, or a really limited reprint or like a gift pack or something like that, it just doesn't hold true for some reason. So I think the prices of anything included in here will fall slightly, but it'll be more like a public and market reaction than an actual supply and demand shift. So calculating whether or not these are worth it, it's almost pointless, because like I said, if there's a couple $50 or $100 cards in here, but there's 1,600 cards you could pull, just short of 1,700, I believe, actually. Yeah, you're probably not going to pull them. I mean, if there's a pocket of 25-cent cards that's 500 cards wide, you might find yourself landing in it. I'd almost just tell you, without doing any math right off the bat, just stay away from these if you're interested in value. Just use them for drafting. As far as should you buy a box sealed and sit on them for their future draftability, because remember, draftability and the whole gambler's premium and the whole, oh, how many are left, and oh, this was a small run, probably, that whole thing tends to drive it up. So I'd say 5-10 years, yeah, these probably will be kind of expensive, but I feel like they'd be really hard to move. Like right now, if you open Battle Bond or Conspiracy 2, or tried to sell it, I should say, sealed, you'll get money because people just know the singles in it are worth money. They're probably not actually drafting with them, despite those being draft sets. This is just a draft set, so you better find somebody who wants an entire box to run a draft event and compete with the other 1,000 boxes that are listed for sale like 5 years from now. So investment, future worth, kind of shaky. It's good in theory, but in practice, you got the value, and then you got, well, how many people actually want to buy it? Like, can you actually get rid of it? So anyway, they do say that for the 121 like event exclusive cards, the playtest cards, they're leaving these to be somewhat mysterious for those who want to have that experience. Well, I mean, you'd have to go to an event, so who's that? 1% of people? Not even? 10 million active players, allegedly. But if you want to know what they all do, you can hop over to the release notes. Oh, they did release them. So I guess they're not leaving them mysterious at all, and he was lying. Cool. So we also have a full list of card names and the artists behind them right here. And there's a link if you'd prefer to hold on to some of the surprise. So I guess what he's saying is they split the list in two. It's the actual reprints, and then that page is like the full list of playtest cards, I guess. Whatever. Yeah, go read through them when you have 6 hours. So the WPN version, which is, I guess, a WPN exclusive. So that's news. I mean, he didn't say it, but he said WPN version, unless he just means widely sold retail version, whether or not you're in the WPN program. But whatever, not that big of a difference. That will also include 15 cards, 14 from the main set, and one of the, 121 possible foil cards. The foil cards are cards not found in the main set. What? I thought he just said the 121 are the playtesting cards. He literally just said that. I don't know. Blake's confusing people again. Ooh, I'm surprised. I just don't feel like putting in enough effort to try and make sense of this. So, the foil cards not found in the main set. Yes, above and beyond the 1,694 already in there, making the draft experience even more repeatable. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of cards. It's very repeatable. You could probably do 1,000 in a row and not have the same deck. Plus, someone told me the foil sheet has some pretty exciting stuff on it. But, shh, you didn't hear it from me. Wow, cringe lord. We'll release the list of possible foils when we get closer to the March 13th release. So those won't be in the tournament ones. It's got to be alternate frame, alternate art. That has to be what it is. Okay, I just took my time to reread everything he just said, and it does indeed make no sense. He says, the convention exclusive ones will contain 14 cards plus 1 from the something new and surprising group, the 121 cards. We're calling these R&D playtest cards. But then they say that the WPN version is different in that, what, they're a guaranteed foil? Or why would they make the WPN ones better? I don't get this. Anyway, I'm not even going to read what he wrote verbatim because I had to read it like 4 times before it made sense, so I'll just spare you guys. Each booster that has 14 slots in it, I don't even know at this point which one he's referring to, probably both, who knows. Every slot of 14 has its own unique, he said sheet, but really just set or pool of 121 cards. So you can't pull the same card twice. And basically, if you open the booster, the first card, it's one of 121. Then the second card is one of a different 121. Then the third card is one of a different 121, all the way to 14. So the question is, did they do it by rarity, which my guess would be yes, but then besides that, did they do it by color, or the third one in is always a creature, or this one's always a control spell? Or did they do it by age, or did they do it by mana cost? I mean, whatever they did, it's kind of messing with the draft, because you can only pick one, though. So, unfortunately, he says Gavin Verhey will have an article later this week that will have more information on each of the 14 slots, and which cards from the massive list that they just dumped on us in alphabetical order are found in which slot. So that'll be interesting. I hope they don't do something just mathematically and logically bad for draft, but I feel like almost whatever they do to rig the booster, it's gonna be bad. I mean, if the first 10 cards are always one of each color in a row, that's gonna make the draft a little bit too consistent and give people too many options. And then if the 5th card in is always a creature, or well, who cares about that, but always a kill spell or removal spell, control spell, people will be able to do a 75% control deck that normally you wouldn't be able to draft. So hopefully it's like a very unimportant order or a very like random classification that doesn't affect anything. So cards in the mystery booster will have the original set symbols and numbering of one of their printings. The only difference, a little planeswalker symbol in the lower left corner. That is weird, not part of the card frame, and very just subtle and unusual, and it almost just looks like counterfeit. I don't know. This is odd. I actually take issue with the whole like Archangel. They said it's 5 out of 256 or whatever it is. Can't quite read that from here. But it isn't. In this set, it is not. In this print run, that is not correct. And remember, every time they reprint a card, it gets a new number based on the set that it's in. So it should be a number out of 1,694, but it's not. So they're kind of putting misleading information on there, but it's like, who cares? It's not important. But if they're going to go to that level of accuracy to make it identical to the original card, why put a little planeswalker symbol in the bottom left? So that was very unusual and questionable. So they finished with Mystery Booster is like nothing we've ever done before. Yeah, you guys don't sell repacks. and we hope the play experience is fun, exciting, and yeah, a little bit mysterious. You know what? You're a little bit mysterious, Blake Rasmussen. For more on this mystery new set, Gavin Verhey will have an article coming later this week to give a peek behind the scenes of Mystery Booster's creation and far more details on the makeup of the product. Check Magic Fest convention schedules to see if Mystery Booster is coming to a convention near you. Spoiler alert, it probably isn't. I added that. Note the linked cards below do not necessarily represent the version found in the Mystery Booster. Yeah, it actually won't be, because that's how their mouse over JavaScript library API thing works. I love how it's like, it may not. Yeah, it 100% will not be the version that is being reprinted. Okay, so I could look through all 17 pages of this, or I could just not, and that's what I'm gonna do. I actually just did like a real quick like benchmark or like assessment on how quickly I could look these up. About a week from now, I could get you a list of the top 10 most expensive cards. That's how long it would take to look these up individually, even with copying and pasting or fast typing and dual monitors and yeah. So right after Hell Freeze is over, so I'm sure somebody will use AI or a script or a comparison thing or CSV or whatever to like compare it to TCG Player. And actually, come to think of it, it would take me less time to do that. But I haven't registered for an API key to that website. I assume that's how it works. So screw it. I'll let somebody else do it. But when they do come up with the list of the hottest, rarest, most expensive reprints in this set, I'll be sure to cover it. I mean, I'm not one to just outright like copy somebody else's work, but you can't copyright lists of prices. Those are considered facts. So, all right, can't wait for that. But like I said earlier, I wouldn't count on this to be a money-making thing to just open. I would not say go out and buy a booster box. I'm leaning towards that almost definitely being a bad idea. That's my initial impression, just kind of skimming over the list and, just knowing how they do these things. But it could be wrong. Who knows? This could be like an EV of double its cost. Everybody will just open it for singles. Speaking of that, one last thing I wanted to throw in here. With like basically 1,700 unique cards in here, this is a really, really weird and bad product for normal single sellers to open. And even big single sellers are going to have trouble with this. Cards are going to go out of stock real quick. This is about 6.7 times larger than the average Master set. So if I say, okay, I'm going to open boxes until I get 4 copies of Abzan Charm, and then I'm going to sell them. I have to open 6.7 times more boxes than I would have to with Masters, and usually with the average Masters one, we only get enough from the distributor to make 1 or 2 play sets. So the small to mid-level singles openers who are like, individual stores, not like giant warehouses full of, a ton of people doing it, they just won't be able to make play sets and sell them, which means they got to sell them individually, which means they got to pay like $4 to ship them first class with tracking. I mean, they don't have to, but even like a stamp in an envelope, it's going to add up compared to selling them 4 at a time. So that's a problem. So I think a lot of people who are like in my shoes where we'd pick up like 10 grand worth of this, they're just not going to. Because if you can't sell it sealed and you normally open them, but you can't do that because you can't make play sets, yeah. Plus just the space, like the table space to sort 1,700 basically unique cards My sorting trays do 300, and they were expensive. Plus the time it would take to sort them like by color and then maybe even alphabetically from there, because color ain't gonna do you nothing. I mean, oh good, I narrowed it down to about 270 unique cards. I mean, you'd have to have a room at your shop that's like the red card room and then subsort it from there. And with 300 potential places, depending upon the number of mixed color and, colorless, there could be like about that many spots to put the card. It can't be done. I would literally say that you cannot sort this into singles. It's too hard. A human can't do it. There is no practical way to do this other than, I guess, by color and then by alphabetical. And that's just too tedious. And then even from there, you'd have to do like 10 chunks of the alphabet, and then each one of those would be a sorting tray from there. And that's like going through every single card, then again, then again. It cannot within reason be done. And then at the end of all of it, you don't have play sets of anything. So like just the overhead cost of trying to sell singles from this is prohibitive. So all the small to mid-level single sellers, which are an enormous portion of the market, they aren't going to touch this, which means that the distributors are going to get stuck with it. And even if they print it hyper conservatively on quantity, boy, I think this is going to crash due to print volume pretty quickly. Yet another reason not to pick it up and just open it. So yeah, when they say this is for draft, we're designing it for draft and you should draft with it, take that very seriously and don't do anything else with it. So anyway, thanks for watching and I will see you guys next video.